up, everybody? Welcome back to another Your Story. We're here in Texas, in Leander, Texas, at Bulldog Auto Detailing with Graham. This is one of 5 locations that you have, but he actually started out of his driveway like most of us. So Graham, thanks for coming on Your Story.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you share a little synopsis of your life and basically, how you got out of the Air Force and grew this mecca of a business that you've been able to do.
So born in Sturgis, South Dakota, 1980, pretty famous little town for motorcycles every year, and grew up with not a lot, so I kind of started working when I was 14 to just help support my family and all that stuff, and then got out, got my first degree in business, and then joined the military in 2003. Served in the Air Force for 4 years in Abilene, Texas. That's what brought me actually down to Texas from up north, and then served 4 years, got out, didn't really know what I wanted to do in life. So in 2010, I decided to use my GI Bill and go back to school and get a second degree. And that's where the detailing kind of started to take off. I started detailing to supplement my income, and then kind of walked away from it in a sense in 2013 when I finished up my other degree and took a corporate marketing position, and just kind of did it as a side hustle for my really good customers. And then in 2016, I was just ready to get out of the corporate world. And that's how Bulldog was born. I hired a guy, built like a custom carport at my house and all that, and started just booking business for the guy. And then that was in June of 2016. And by August of 2016, I went full time with it and resigned from my position. So, and then, just since then it's expanded. Now we don't even have the original shop. And the reason why I called it Bulldog Auto Detailing is it started in Hamilton, Texas, 70 miles out in the middle of nowhere. And it was the Hamilton Bulldogs was their mascot. So I was kind of just tailor fitting the name to the community, because I never imagined being out in the middle of nowhere that we would actually grow outside of Hamilton. And so a lot of people ask why, and it kind of leaves a cool story, that we started out in the middle of nowhere. And unfortunately, we don't have that shop anymore. It was hard to keep help out there, but now we've expanded into Waco, Temple, Leander, and Clifton, Texas at this point.
So I'm going to draw it back before we get into the business side, because obviously that's
okay.
That's important. But Sturgis,
yeah.
So I didn't even know I didn't even know there was houses in Sturgis.
Right, yeah.
I thought it was just a motorcycle town.
And it's funny, like the number one question about Sturgis is, oh, dude, you must love motorcycles. Like a lot of people in Sturgis don't really ride that much because we got awful winters, so you can't ride a motorcycle year round. So we're more like Jeep guys. But it was an interesting place. I saw every rally for the first 22 years of my life, and so, yeah, I mean, it's a while. I mean, the city literally turns into the largest city in South Dakota during this whole thing. I mean, 500,000 plus bikers come out for it. So a town of 7,000 people expands into a town of 500,000 to 1 million people, and it's insane. But it was a great experience. Saw some great bands like Leonard Skinner, BB King, a lot of pretty cool bands growing up. So it was a great experience.
And would you work these events too, or the Sturgis event?
So I did once I was old enough. Yeah. So when I was like 15 years old, I'd work at the bars like as a bar back, just emptying trash cans and all that stuff. And then there was one summer I was actually a bartender / security during the rally. So that was, see some interesting stuff.
See a lot of fights?
Oh yeah, see some fights, see some stuff you want to see, you see some stuff you don't want to see. I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's worth it. I mean, if you're into that kind of stuff, it's definitely worth checking out once at least.
So I guess being born and raised there for 22 years, do you have any reason to go back to see it now that you've been?
Yeah, so my family's got a pretty long history in the Black Hills. My great-grandpa actually worked on Mount Rushmore, which is kind of our little claim to fame in the area. So yeah, my dad and sister, I've still got a ton of family up there, and we actually go up for like a month every summer and just hang out and go to the lakes and just enjoy the outdoors, because the mountains are just awesome up there. So, but my eventual goal is to hopefully maybe get a little operation going on up there and start spending the whole summers up there when the weather's amazing, and just be up there during the busy season, and then just have a team to run the show, during the winter when it slows down a little bit.
What did your grandpa do on Mount Rushmore?
So he started off, I think he was kind of like in the explosive side, like because they'd have to place dynamite to, get the bigger chunks out.
Oh, he actually built it?
He worked on it, yeah. I mean, he like when it was being built back in the days. And
That's
so
cool.
From the story I understand, he kind of worked in that part of things. And I think he did some chiseling and stuff like that. But then I think he got offered a position to be kind of a cliffhanger to do that, and I think he wasn't down with the heights, and so I think that was kind of his time to move out. And he also got a pretty bad heat stroke too when he was doing it, so it was kind of time for him to step away from it.
Do you know if it was a lot of people from your area that worked on Mount Rushmore? Or did they have a lot of people that would come in?
I think it was a lot of people that came in too, but a lot of the locals, because it was a tough time in the economy as well. So I think it was a lot of local people at the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you leave Sturgis, then you go into the Air Force.
Joined the Air Force, went through basic training just in San Antonio, Texas, and then I went to school in Louisiana for a little bit, and then Biloxi, Mississippi, not Louisiana, and then finished my school in Wichita Falls, Texas, and then got stationed in Abilene on the B-1 bomber. So we did the defensive avionics on that jet, and then got to go to Guam for about 6 months, but otherwise got to hang out in Texas most of the time.
It's awesome. And what was part of your DataJ there?
Day-to-day?
Yeah.
Just programming systems, launching jets, just making sure, in the launch sequence, making sure all of our systems are operational. When we went to Guam, we were doing phase inspections, just these inspections that have to be done every so often. So instead of, the jets were deployed at the time, so we were kind of the halfway mark. So we got stationed out there for 6 months to do all the phase inspections on the jets. But otherwise on the flight line a lot. I mean, some days were brutal, man. 105-degree day on a flight line with the sun beating down on the asphalt and everything. It get pretty grimy out there.
Yeah, hot quick, right?
Oh yeah, real quick. Yeah, and it's not like you can just wear shorts and a t-shirt. I mean, you're in uniform, so it's not like they're the most hot friendly clothes to wear anyway. So
well, there's some iconic things that you guys have worked on in your families, from Mount Rushmore to the bomber. Right?
Yeah,
that's obviously a big time plane. That everybody would love to see in person. You don't want to see it above you, obviously.
Yep.
Can you describe that plane a little bit more too while you're working on it, and just the incredible feat that's able to go, the speeds it's able to go at? I think you were talking last night. It's able to go from 20,000
feet to 500 feet in less than a minute. I mean, it's a huge jet. From a maintenance standpoint, it was kind of a pain because the jet was literally built to destroy Russia. I mean, that's what it was built to do. So it was pretty intense, just getting to work on it on a daily basis. And the takeoff of these jets was, I would get goosebumps every time. I mean, it's probably one of the loudest jets out there. It's got 4 massive engines on it, so takeoff would shake houses. I mean, it was intense. So that was always my favorite part, was launching them and just watching them take off, especially like sunset time. It's like some Top Gun stuff, just pretty sweet. But that was always my favorite part of working on the jet, was just knowing you had a small part in getting that jet in the air and making sure it was safe for the pilots to defend them, because that's what our systems were to keep them from getting shot down. So.
And how did your systems work on that?
So stuff I can talk about, I mean, was like...
Come on, give us the dirt.
Yeah, no, I don't want to get in trouble. But so like radar tricking kind of stuff, where you'd make the enemy believe the jet was in a different spot than it really was, that kind of stuff. The terrain following, where it'll drop from 20,000 to 500 feet and fly below radars, that kind of stuff. Chaff and flare, if a missile is on them, to try and trick the missile from hitting them and stuff like that. So just those kinds of systems is what we worked on.
Keeping them alive.
Keeping them going, yeah.
So you went to Guam then too. You were there for 6 months?
6 months.
And you got married before you went there?
Got married before I went there. Celebrated our 1-year anniversary while I was in Guam, and it was pretty chill. I got lucky because Guam is obviously super humid. So I got lucky and got put on the mid shift, so I got to work overnight, and then we'd go sleep for 6 hours or so, and then just grab the snorkeling gear and go over to the Navy base there. They had the best snorkeling beach, and just go hang out with Finding Nemo. I mean, just tons of colorful fish. And so it was a pretty chill deal. We stayed busy, but got to enjoy the island, got to meet some locals and enjoy the local food and all that good stuff.
Wow. Yeah. Was your wife over there with you?
No, she didn't get to go. It was a TDY, so it wasn't like a permanent duty station. So she just got to see the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So they basically get out of the Air Force, or you celebrated your 1-year anniversary when you were there.
Yep.
Get out of the Air Force, then you have your son.
Yep. So I had my son about a month and a half after I got out in 2000. I got out in March of 2007, and he was born April 8th of 2007. Wow. And that was where life changed a lot for us. The day after he was born, we were about 3 hours from checking out of the hospital, and he had a massive seizure while I was holding him, and he actually went blue in my arms. It was terrifying, and thankfully we had a nurse there. She got him responsive again and all that for us. And so we ended up in Abilene's NICU for 2.5 weeks, and they couldn't get the seizures stopped. And so we ended up getting shipped over to Cook Children's Hospital in Fort Worth, which is one of the leading children's hospitals in the nation. And we were there for another almost month and a half with him. And at his worst, he had 28 seizures in one day. I mean, it was just, in the screams that he would let out after, it was awful. And it badly affected me. I mean, it was just, I would have nightmares about it. It was that bad. And just seeing your newborn go through that, I mean, anybody that's a parent can just empathize. I mean, it's awful, and just being helpless. And so anyway, they finally got him stopped and got back to Abilene and just kind of got back to life. And he was always very delayed. And so when he was around 3 years old, he wasn't, well, actually we knew developmentally the first year he wasn't, walking, he wasn't crawling. There was something else going on. And so we started seeing all these specialists, and turned out, I mean, long story short, we ended up finding out about 5 years old that he was severely autistic. So he didn't start walking until it was 2.5, 3 years old. I mean, he was very delayed in everything that was going on. He still to this day can't really talk. So he goes to full-time therapy instead of school right now. And his official diagnosis is severely autistic on the scale. And, blessing, but, and thankfully, for the most part, I think we're over 3 years without seizures at this point. But he was a big part of why I got into all of this, is just to make sure that he's always going to have whatever he needs as far as care or any of that stuff goes. And so.
Special, man. Another person, Joe Kimball, and obviously Joey Kimball has.
Absolutely.
When we were out there, we got to meet Joey. What a special man.
Oh, he's awesome, man. I love following their story. I mean, it's just, they bring such a neat light to the whole situation, and Joey's just a trip, man.
Fun-loving dude.
Oh, he's great. I watched y'all's interview too. It was great, and just Joey's a trip, man. I can't wait to actually get to meet those guys in person, because they're an inspiration to me too, just to see that family operation come together the way it's come together.
Oh, it's great.
Nothing but great's going to come for those guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so you have your son. Obviously, that was a life-changing moment,
Absolutely.
understandably. With the seizures, do they know where those came from?
They never did figure out. They just knew where they were coming from, but they couldn't figure out why. I mean, they were testing him for scary stuff. They were like, you don't want him to have this, but we have to test for it. But we never did figure out what triggered it. I mean, it's just an anomaly. We just don't know. I mean, we really didn't have any history in our families of seizures. I mean, it was just, they did genetic. I mean, it was just, I don't know. We still to this day just don't know. Just keep them under control is all we can do.
Well, I'm happy you made it through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So a big part of both of our lives is our wives. Mm-hmm. So I can understand, the strain that probably put on you guys when going through that.
Absolutely.
But the support that we have. My wife has supported me with all the craziness.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Since day one, and you and I kind of had the same decision one day when we left the corporate world to go and start this thing called a detailing company.
Absolutely.
And, go do those $100 details in our driveways.
Yeah.
And, until we booked it out and had them coming out yelling at us, and I was a little different because I was engaged at the time.
Right.
So, but tell my wife I was leaving the corporate position to go and become an entrepreneur.
And you were absolutely crazy for doing it.
Oh,
right?
I still crazy for doing it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Can you speak of the support that your wife has given you?
So she's phenomenal. I actually met her the 4th. So I actually just got out of a pretty serious relationship, and I got stationed in Abilene, and I got stationed there. I got there on a Sunday, and I actually met her that Thursday at a bar of all places, and got married almost 1.5 years after we met, dated and all that good stuff. And she was in nursing school. That's how I met her in Abilene. And she's phenomenal. She's a full-time registered nurse. She was definitely picked to be my son's mom. I mean, she's just great with him. I mean, if you saw those two interact and just see the pictures of them, I mean, there's just a bond there that's unbelievable. And she was the rock through this whole thing. I mean, I was weak after that happened to my son. I didn't peel off, but I wasn't right for about 2 years after it happened. It just messed me up, and she stayed strong through it all. I mean, we joke all the time that we should have probably been divorced 10 times at this point. I mean, and just special needs families have a very high divorce rate because it's so intense taking care of the kid that the parents don't have a lot of time for each other. And so the fact that we've survived that, and my craziness, starting a business. I mean, just all the stuff that we've been hit with in our lives. We got married in July of 2005, so we just celebrated 15 years last year, and still going strong. We chose to just never give up. I mean, we made that decision, and we just have fought through it all. And she was not, honestly, if she was here right now, she would tell you she was not excited about this jump, going from a salary, benefits, all that stuff, to cleaning cars. I mean, it was what it started off as. I mean, when I was in college, she was cool with it, because it supplemented income, but going away from that steady paycheck and everything going on, she was not excited. But she realized, I think, within 6 months, okay, like he saw something I didn't see, and she's not really a business-minded person, but she stuck by through the thick and the thin, and we've had some tough runs like any new business does, and she's just always supported me through it and just been a great support system.
That's huge. And what has that support, shown? I mean, without having support, I remember there's only 2 people that supported me when I made the decision.
Yeah.
Thousands around me.
I had one. It was my grandmother. She was the one but I could do anything. My grandma, she was always my biggest fan.
Yeah.
I could fail at anything and it would be like, well, you did it so well though. So
Is she still around?
She's not. We lost her 3 years ago. That was the hardest hit I've ever taken, man. Yeah, she was if I was ever a fraction of the person that my grandmother was, I'd be happy. I mean, she was just a saint on earth. But
well, I know she's cheering you on.
Oh,
right
absolutely,
now.
man. Yeah. Don't try and make me cry on camera. No, it's all good.
Damn it, I almost had it.
I know you did.
Oh man. So yeah, support all around. And then, so when you decided to make that jump mentally, what were you going through at the time when you were in the corporate world to say, okay, I need to go and start this passion project at the time, right?
Yeah. And on top of that, we literally, she was pregnant with our now 4-year-old son Tucker, and so I started all of this while. I mean, he was born in June, and I started it in June. So I officially started the company 3 weeks before Tucker was born.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was all very interesting, but my mindset was just, I've got to go for it. The corporate world was wearing me out, just that whole thing. I loved the nursing home industry. I loved the residents and the people of the nursing home, the workers, but just the corporate side was just starting to wear down on me a little bit. And I like being my own boss, man. I love having complete control of where I'm going with things. And and the great thing about the marketing job though, is I give that job a lot of credit of the success of Bulldog and the expansion of it, because it taught me how to effectively market and get your name out there, dealing with professionals like I did every day. It just made it very easy to segue into what we do and really get our name out there.
Yeah, so was it a hard decision at first when you made it, or did you know it was right when you decided to say, I'm leaving the 9 to 5?
I saw it, yeah. I mean, and like I said, I didn't dive right into it. I still stayed working for 2 months. I actually didn't expect me to be able to walk away as fast as I did. I kind of had about a 6 month goal, 6 month to 8 month goal to walk away from the corporate job and just go full time with it. But we just went crazy right off the bat. So it was actually, starting the business was pretty easy because I wasn't just completely diving in, but when I decided to walk away, it was a pretty comfortable decision, just because we had the business that coming in that I could walk away from that salary at that point.
Yeah, that's a great point, because people ask all the time, oh, you left your 6-figure job to go and start a detailing company. Why did you do it? You just jumped in. Yeah. And that wasn't the case, right? We had to make the decision. We got to make sure we have responsibilities. Especially when you have 2 kids, or I guess your second kid was on the way. Yeah. At the time you left, he was born. Tucker was born.
Yeah, he was born. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have responsibilities too. You got to take care of. Yeah. So what's a message that you could teach these younger guys, or even these guys that are stuck in the corporate world that want to make the jump?
Man, just find what you enjoy doing. I didn't get into detailing just for the money. I mean, I was passionate about the work. And that's the kind of the downside now of how big we've gotten, is I don't get to put my hands on it as much as I used to be able to. But yeah, I mean, if find what you're passionate, if it's detailing or whatever your passion is, and if there's a market, I mean, make sure there's a market first. Don't just dive into something because you love doing it. I mean, make sure that it's something that's going to support you and be able to pay your bills, and something that you can grow. I mean, but if there's something that you're that passionate about, take the skills you've learned in the corporate world and go after it. And just make your dreams happen. I mean, that's kind of cliche sounding, but it's true. I mean, I'm doing more now. I mean, sitting here doing this is insane. If you'd have told me 4 years ago that I'd even be out of Little Hamilton, Texas, doing all of this, getting to talk to you guys, getting to go to SEMA, which I've wanted to do since I was like 10 years old, like getting to do all this stuff is just, it's mind blowing to me, getting to travel as much as we get to travel, and just, it's unbelievable. And I know you've got similar stories where, I mean, I'm sure you sitting here doing this is mind blowing. When you started, it's nuts that we get to do this kind of stuff in the detailing world. I mean, 20 years ago, I think this was literally unheard of, and it's just neat getting to do all this now.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could definitely relate with you there.
Oh yeah,
Big
absolutely.
Time. Yeah. And that brings you to a great point is, with your company, you guys have over 30 team members now.
Yeah, we're at 30.
We're close to 10 now, which I never would have thought, but
right.
It brings to a great point of growth and be able to grow. So how did you go out of your driveway? 4 years it's been now?
4 years, yeah.
So from driveway to 5 locations, 5 different shops, 30 people.
Yeah, so I mean, just kind of the quick version of it. We opened our first shop in Hamilton exactly a year of June 1st of 17. I opened that shop. So I moved from the house down to that shop. We also had a big dealership contract in Hillsboro, Texas that really brought the cash flow in. And so that contract lasted about 6 months. We had a huge overspray job too, like 200 cars got hit that we got paid really good money to remove the overspray on. And so that really gave us a huge influx of cash. And so when that contract ended at the end of 17, I actually opened our Waco shop. And then we also, a month later, opened Copper's Cove at the time. So within a month, we opened 2 shops. Well, within 6 months, we opened 3 shops at that point.
And it's just because of the influx of cash that came
the
through
influx
those
of
cars.
cash.
So
and
you just put that money to work.
Put it to work right away, yeah. Just reinvested a lot of it and started expanding that way. And then since then we've closed Hamilton and put those resources into our Waco shop. And then we closed Copper's Cove and put those resources into Temple, which has just a huge market, a big medical area. And then that all happened in 18. We got all that going. And then last year we opened Leander, and then we just recently opened Clifton, Texas. So, and it's all just been about my guys, man. I mean, my employees are phenomenal. We've built legitimate like career opportunities with what we're doing. It's not just something where you're going to come work for 10 years and still be making 12 or 13 bucks an hour. I've got guys that make way more than the average college graduate makes, and we've got guys, I really think within the next year or two we're going to have 6-figure earners within the company, and there's a couple guys that are already close to that. And that's just been the most rewarding thing. I mean, seeing guys buying houses now that work for me, which a lot of employees of detail shops don't go buy houses. I mean, they don't make the money to do that. I mean, seeing a couple of my employees that had $1,000, $2,000, just beat down cars, and now they're going and buying brand new cars. That's neat from a business owner standpoint, knowing that you're paying wages that guys can afford to better their lives and not just get by in life. And getting to take 4 guys to Tampa a month or so ago, going to SEMA and just getting to do all these neat things with these guys, it's rewarding. And now we're even in the middle of giving back. Like, one of our big things this year was to give back. I mean, we had such growth last year, going from 2 shops and 9 employees to 5 shops and 33 employees at one point. So our big theme this year is just giving back, and we're in the middle of forming a nonprofit where we're like 6 weeks ago we fed 500 people in Waco, Texas. Wow. And on May 1st we're doing that again. Like, next weekend we've got another event that we're going to be just bringing a bunch of food and just feeding a bunch of people for free, and just, so we're doing that, and like autism awareness, we're really big in that. We've in 2013 I was involved in some legislation that passed that allocated $32 million to better programs for autism in Texas. And so moving forward, man, with the growth, I don't ever want to forget where we came from, and I always want to make sure that we're humble and we're giving back and we're doing everything we can to not just make it about the money and about all that. I want to do good, and just help people if we can. So
yeah, and you brought up a great point too, because it's one thing I'm super passionate about and fully believe in the success of a business is paying your guys what they deserve.
Absolutely.
Right. It's not worrying about the bottom line, what you could take home as a business owner, but what they're taking home. I would say my favorite 26 days of the year is payday.
Absolutely.
Because just like you said, you get to see what they get to go buy. Two of our guys are buying houses right now.
I know.
And I'm like, dude, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing to watch.
It's
all because of something that you just started, out of a garage. And
Absolutely.
You're supporting all these humans in their lives.
I mean,
with
sometimes
their families and kids and everything.
Sometimes I feel like I just got to pinch myself because it's just wild that it's turned into this, and it's just, you're right. And one of the biggest things I could stress, and I know you'd say the same thing, is pay your guys well, and if they're doing well, reward them for it. Take them out to eat. I mean, just even little things. Just take care of your guys, because without them, none of this could happen. I mean, there's no way. I mean, one guy can run 5 shops. Like, you have to have awesome guys that are passionate about it and just go for it.
It's great.
Yeah.
So how have you built the team? How did you decide that positions need to be put into place? And then how did you find all the guys and gals?
Some of them, like, Steve that you guys have talked with today, I mean, he was a customer of ours, and just loved what we were doing. And so he joined on that way. I always try to look for guys that are just passionate about cars. They don't even have to be any detailing experience. Like, if you're just passionate about cars, come on in, we'll teach you everything you need to know. Just have that passion, get excited about the cars we're bringing in and the life we're trying to, the lifestyle that we're trying to portray in Central Texas. And, but that, just being involved in the car world, if we post that we're hiring, we get a ton of applications. And so it's just finding those enthusiasts, that see, and just that are excited about what we're doing. I love our managers meetings, talking about all the things coming up and what we're doing, and just finding that passion out there, is probably the biggest thing. So, for guys that are looking, advertise that you're hiring, like on a car page or something like that, like find those guys that are just passionate about the industry.
Yeah. And another great thing about you is you've grown this multi-million-dollar business with an M at the end of it in a little under 4 years. Yeah. Or a little over 4 years, I guess it'd be now. So what would you say was a big part of that success from bringing you from that driveway to this multi-million-dollar business, 5 location, 30-plus employee?
So, I mean, what got us to this point? I mean, just once again, hiring the right guys and marketing. Dude, marketing is one of the most important pieces of the whole puzzle. Just spend money on marketing and do it right. Not only do we have like great managers and detailers, we've got a couple of positions that are not normal for detailing. So we've got a full-time social media director, Caleb. He does great work in the videography, photography, and social media world. So he hits all 3 aspects, so we've created a full-time position for that, which a lot of companies don't have that in the detailing world. And then I also have a full-time director of marketing, and she's our public relations. So she's at all the Chamber of Commerce meetings. If we're doing anything for the public, she's there, so just putting that money into that. I mean, we've got a huge marketing budget, I would say, for a detailing business. I mean, we budgeted, I think, this year for, around $60,000 just for, and that's not even including their wages. That's just for marketing dollars. Yeah. So we dump a lot into it. And it's always kind of rewarding. And I know you guys probably get tagged on Facebook, when somebody looking for a good ceramic coating guy, and you got to start, 9 times out of 10, we're the most referred guy on those pages. I mean, our tags just start getting blown up on social media, Bulldog Auto Detailing in Temple or whatever, and so it's, that's been one of our biggest things, but also the systems, like getting involved with You're Able and getting those systems in place are also really important for growth, because you could be $1 million company, but you could be spending $1 million a year, and so making sure that those systems are in place, hiring like Garner that you guys interviewed earlier today. He's our money guy, he's our controller. So he's tracking everything coming and going and saying no sometimes, like, no, we don't need that right now. It's not worth spending the money on it. And just having those positions in place and your systems in place to make it run well. And I'm not gonna lie, last year with that extreme growth, there was a lot of shooting from the hip. I mean, it was pretty intense going from, just that extreme growth in 1 year. So that was the whole theme of this year in January when we had our first managers meeting, was systems in place and growing what we've got. So like this year, unless something just crazy comes out, there probably won't be a 6th location. And we're actually going to be combining our 2 in Temple. Monday, we're signing papers on a 8,000 square foot shop that's going to combine both of our temple operations into one and just continue getting our systems in place and just growing what we've already got. We're going to be adding PPF and tint, and just that's our big theme, is just getting it all organized, which we've done. I mean, Garner has killed it. I mean, just gotten a lot of, employee handbooks in place, the HR side of things. I mean, it's just been awesome, and just seeing it all come together the way it has.
Leveling up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. Well, another great, guy that we did a year story on was Gabe from Total Detailing. His whole growth was off SEO and the paid search side of it. And it seems like this is a common theme, including our company too. We just did it for the first time this year.
Right.
We see the success of it too. Do you guys do any of the SEO and PPC side, pay-per-click?
Yep.
So is that part of that $60,000 spend?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then what kind of returns are you guys seeing off that $60,000 if you're able to see it in a monetary value?
Yeah, Caleb is he tracks a lot of that, him and Garner, but we make a lot of money. I mean, if we spend $1,000, I wouldn't be surprised if we see at least 10 come from it. We get a pretty good return on investment on it. It's worth it. And it's always a changing world too. So it's good to have somebody that knows what they're doing, because I don't know. I mean, Caleb would be the better guy to ask on the SEO side. That's where I just love hiring somebody.
It's just important though. Regardless.
Yeah.
Right?
And so, but knowing how things change and how you can effectively spend your dollars in it is super smart. And I'm blessed to have somebody that is super knowledgeable on that, to where he knows if we're wasting our time and money or not. So
yeah. Cool. So another thing I love about you too that we spoke about last night is that this isn't just like one part of the company. Now have 3 separate companies that just went under your holding company. Can you speak about the other 2 opportunities? Yeah, so we split it up into 3. So we've got Bulldog Auto Detailing LLC, which is our retail side of it. And then we've got Bulldog Auto Detailing Wholesale, which is, so we've got 2 full-blown dealership accounts where the detailing department, they give us the bay and everything. So we supply the chemicals, the employees, the equipment, and everything. So we separated that part of the company into the wholesale side. And then we also started Bulldog Auto Logistics, which is a transport company. So we transport these like Ford F-550 and Ram 5500 chassis trucks with like these little bucket lifts and stuff on them, and transport those all over the country. And that kind of stemmed from COVID. We would do like the vinyl work for them and some detailing and stuff like that, and kind of became their hub, because they lease these trucks out throughout the nation, and then they would send a transport company in to get them. Well, when COVID hit, everybody was freaking out about quarantining if you cross state lines. It was just crazy at the beginning of it, and nobody knew what was going on. So they just called us out of desperation, because we already had the insurance for it, and I didn't have any clue how to do it. So I actually did the first couple of trips myself just to see how it would go, but they pay us per mile and all that good stuff, and it made sense. So we basically started doing all that work for them, because it was just convenient, because most of the other companies were from out of town, so they'd have to wait a day or 2. I mean, they were already at our shop. We can just jump in and take off and go. And so it all just made sense. So that company officially became real this year as well, when we formed that series of LLCs. So I've got I've got a main driver and a part-time driver for that now, and we're going after that side. I mean, that side alone could turn into $1 million company within the next year or 2. I mean, with the amount of money that's paid on it. So you see opportunity and you attack it.
Absolutely. And whatever else comes, if it makes sense, man. I mean, it all started off with detailing, but if something comes out of it, I'll go after it. It doesn't just have to be in the detailing world. So, and I like driving, so
heck yeah.
I'll even the nice thing about owning a company, you can kind of pick and choose when you want to do it. But yeah, when the truck's going to Miami, I think Graham will take that one to Miami.
I might fly down and meet you halfway.
Yeah. I think I'll take that one, guys. I got this one. Yeah. It's probably a really bad trip. I'll take that one. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, one other thing we got to talk about too is the reason that we're here, as well as you're able, and how it's changed your business since implementing it a year and a half ago. So can you speak about that?
Yeah, so it's been great, and the biggest part I use it for personally is just mostly on the scheduling side. Garner uses it for like the analytics side, all that. But the biggest thing is just how much it's organized everything, and also the customer experience. It just adds. I mean, we've always been about customer service. My old saying is, I will lose money on a job before I let somebody leave unhappy. And obviously, there's always going to be those couple of customers that are just impossible, but that's just my philosophy, man. I believe in honest business and just it's all about the customer, and you're able 100% just added on to that. I mean, tenfold. I mean, even 1,000-fold. I mean, it makes the customer feel more involved in the whole process, more in the loop on the process, and it also just frees up your time. Where when you've got a car in for 2 or 3 days doing coating work and paint correction and all that, you can keep them updated without having to get on the phone. And you know how easy it is. I mean, especially if you've got stuff in common with the customer. I mean, a update call, it should take a minute, could end up taking 30 minutes, because you just start to, BS back and forth and talk. So with that update system and just, being able to keep them involved in it without having to, talk so much about it, it just makes everything way more efficient. And so that's probably the biggest thing I love about your Rabel is just the organizational side of it and just how it adds to the full-blown customer experience from start to finish. And to me, the most valuable, and it may sound dumb, but it's the reminder of appointments, man. Like that has saved us. I don't even want to say saved us. It's made us money because those no-call, no-shows have gotten cut down to a fraction of what they used to be. Especially on the detailing side. Coatings, it's pretty rare to get a no-call, no-show, but detailing, people just get busy in life and they forget about it. It's like a haircut. People just, I forgot I had a haircut appointment, Yep. And so it's not necessarily a high on the priority list. And so the amount of no-call, no-shows that we get from using it just has dropped big time, which is my personal little favorite feature of it. Even though there's a ton, that's my personal favorite.
And it's grown, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's grown with your business from 9 guys last year to over 30 this year.
Absolutely.
Without you really having to implement anything else.
Exactly.
Right. There's really no end to it. As you grow, it grows.
Absolutely.
That brings a great question too. As you guys continue to grow and as you're able to continue to grow, what's next for you?
Just to continue building on what we've already got, and just creating more and more jobs for people in Central Texas to form careers. Like, I don't even like calling them jobs. Like, I hope guys come in, even if we're hiring for like a base level dealership position, yeah, you might not make a ton of money there, but like I shared earlier, we've literally got a guy that was making $11 an hour at an entry level dealership position, and he's now a general manager of a shop, and so that's my goal, is just to continue growing and building what we've already got, adding the services, but also hopefully by next year we'll start adding more locations. And who knows? I mean, what can happen? I mean, the sky's the limit, man. I started in a town I never imagined we would have gotten to this point in the first place. And I really look forward to the partnership, I want to call it, with Your Able, where we do this all together. And I can't wait to see where we're all at in 5-10 years, and just doing more and more of this kind of stuff, and just supporting each other. I mean, the Your Able crew are just phenomenal people. I've gotten to meet them on multiple times, and I just love them, man. They're great people, and they genuinely care about how we all do. I mean, doing this is unheard of, what you guys are doing, coming around and talking to all these shops, and it's just great what they're creating. And I'm really proud to be a small part of that and to be involved with it, because it's just a great product.
Well, Graham, it's been an absolute blast, brother.
Absolutely, man.
It doesn't surprise me knowing you that you've done this.
I appreciate
but
that.
I'm so stoked to see what you do. I know you said you're going to stop at 5 for this year, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be adding a couple more.
Yeah. Just don't say that too loud, John. They'll come at me.
Well, thank you for opening up your shop, bringing all your guys out here, and for you guys to make the trip up here too, because I know it's a little further away than home base for you.
That was our pleasure,
Really
man.
do appreciate it. As always, thank you to Michael, Chris, and Kyle, and the whole Your Able team. Thank you to Cinescope. Please go online. Make sure you sign up for the 30-day trial. And as always, keep shining.
Awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Always.